Well, thank you so much for staying with us here on Morning Live. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Sihle Zikalala says that the state won't hesitate to take strong action against those who disrupt government construction projects. Now, the so-called construction mafia have been rattling the construction bosses by going onto site and forcefully demanding a stake in these projects. Now, there's been concern that government is not doing enough to curb the spread of this extortion and also threats to South Africa's economic stability, viability and infrastructure development as a result. Zikalala also announced infrastructure investment plan that we'll tell us more about. And we're joined now by the Minister virtually. Minister Sihle Zikalala is the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Minister, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for having us in your program.
So, Minister, since you've started in this portfolio, you've gone around, doing assessments of the work that has been done by your predecessors. Just give us a snapshot of what you found.
Well, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has a great role to play in ensuring economic growth, especially through infrastructure development. It is also known that for investors to invest, they will also need infrastructure. But infrastructure is quite important for social development. We are rolling out a number of projects which include the project in energy, project in road development, and project in water, as well as human settlement. But there are a number of also projects that we are running as the department that are about servicing or providing facilities for government departments. For instance, the points of entry, the land points of entry, whether you talk of borders, we have to ensure that all departments that are working there, such as Department of Home Affairs, Defense, and other departments have all facilities that they need. We are working hard to ensure that we build our capacity to become an implementing agent of choice. But more than that, we are quite disturbed by this phenomenon of construction mafias who are spreading around the country now, exhorting business people and trying to force business people to pay them money, even without doing any work. We are committed to the transformation, provision of opportunities for small businesses, but such criminal activities cannot be tolerated at all.
Minister, just how serious is this problem of the construction mafia? I think we speak about it mostly anecdotally. There was, of course, that case in the Western Cape where an official of government was actually shot and killed. But just how serious is this problem?
It is very, very serious. It has affected us in KwaZulu-Natal, in Western Cape, and in Gauteng, as you say. In Western Cape, a government official was killed. In KwaZulu-Natal, a number of projects have been stopped and delayed on various occasions. And in Gauteng, especially Pretoria, a number of projects have been also stopped, disrupted, and delayed by these forums. This is impacting negatively. One, it is delaying services that are needed by communities. Two, it is also threatening the life of employees, especially government officials. But three, it is also leading to price escalation, because as you delay the project, the price is escalating day by day. And that's why we're saying this is tantamount to the sabotage of the economy of this country.
Minister, is there any intelligence report at this point to help unmask who these people are behind these nefarious activities?
Well, the report indicates that these are criminals who have who masquerade themselves as people who are in business. But if you go down, you will find that these are criminals. Some are coming out of prison and they come with this criminal attitude. And that's why, and we applaud the President Ramaphosa, for insisting that police set up a unit that will deal with this criminality. And that unit within the SAPS, we believe it is going to help us. And that's why we will be interacting with them to ensure that we complement and support their work.
And I think that would be welcome to many people involved in infrastructure development at all sorts of levels, because it cuts across. It's not just, building, it's roads, infrastructure, everything that you can think of. So I think that would come as a welcome announcement, Minister, and hopefully we can follow up on that because something has to be done. But speaking of, the infrastructure-led recovery plan that you touched upon, now we know that the now electricity minister, Dr. Kgosientshe Ramokgopa, was leading that particular project since 2021. Now, if I understand and remember correctly, the intention was to ensure affordable infrastructure that would, of course, enable economic growth and thereby accelerate the creation of jobs, which has been a serious albatross for this government. Where are we now? Have we been able to see a significant number of jobs created and sustainable jobs at that?
Indeed, there have been a number of jobs that have been created. It will be, remember that toward 2010 FIFA World Cup, we managed to increase job opportunities within the construction sector. Right now, we've seen the decline post-2010, and we are working hard to ensure that we improve on that. Road infrastructure is the one that has been going on, employing number of people, whether you talk of N3, N2 in KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State province, road infrastructure has been going very, very well. And we are continuing also in all other provinces, ensuring that the infrastructure development is taking place. The construction of dams is also helping to create jobs from the Eastern Cape to KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest, and Limpopo. Minister Senzo Mchunu is hands-on working on that program. But also we are working on a program that we call the construction of Bailey Bridges, which is Weli Sizwe program. And per province, we are building at least 4 bridges per quarter, which also create jobs, focusing in 6 provinces, which include Free State, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Northwest, and Eastern Cape. So the program is comprehensive, but also our role also include ensuring that we package programs of infrastructure, even those that are not yet funded, and go out to raise funding for those projects to be implemented.
So, Minister, speaking about bridges, and just on a point of clarity, what you announced yesterday, are we talking about brand new projects, or are we talking about fixing and maybe rescuing some projects that had started and came to a halt for one reason or another?
We are talking about bridges that were building from the scratch, which were not there in most cases. Department of Transport is seized with completion of those that were not finished before, and we are leaving that to the Department of Transport, and Minister Chikunga is leading that with provinces. Ours on this is to contribute through these steel bridges that we're constructing, which are quick to install, and they create jobs at a fast level, so that we create jobs in even rural areas. These Weli Sizwe bridges are focusing in particular in rural areas where there is a dire need for bridges.
And of course, Minister, when we talk about incomplete projects, I think for communities, what they would like to see is perhaps completion dates, time frames that are set for these projects so that they can also monitor effectively what is going on alongside, of course, what you as government would be doing.
Quite correctly, monitoring is important. But besides monitoring, all implementing organs of state must ensure that they plan efficiently and effectively and ensure that they implement within the time frame. And that's why we're focusing on building the capacity of the state to drive implementation of infrastructure, because the delays cause delays on services, but increase prices. So implementing and focusing on timeframes is quite important and is part of project management. And that's why we need very skilled and effective people in that sector.
And it needs to go beyond just talking about it, Minister, because we've seen infrastructure projects that were undertaken by government where contractors have defrauded the state through various means, whether they use substandard construction material in order to make greater profits. We've seen project stoppages, of which you've touched on in some instances for various reasons. We've seen companies claiming liquidation. And there are many other issues that bedevil completion of projects. And there have been interventions. For example, your predecessor, Patricia de Lille, she launched the Infrastructureled Anti-Corruption Forum in 2021. But the question then is, what will be done differently in order to make sure that you detect timeously and prevent this sort of corruption that seems to have taken root?
I think on top of what Minister de Lille did, we are consolidating and capacitating the project management unit within the department so that we're able to monitor all our projects in all provinces and report regularly. And we would want to have a monthly report, progress report on all projects that we are running, because it is important that when projects start, they start, get implemented, and finished on time.
Minister, and it's sad that we're talking about infrastructure development, but we seem to focus so much on what goes wrong in these projects because of criminal activity. According to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime report, extortion or transformation, that's how the report has been titled. In 2019, at least 183 infrastructure and construction projects across South Africa, and those were worth more than 63 billion rand. They were affected by these disruptions. Now, of course, we are very concerned about that. You visited the Beitbridge border post. We know the story around that. Again, there was a fence that was erected. In no time, the fence was gone. It was said to be substandard from the beginning, and money seemed to be thrown, down the drain, as it were. So how are we going to do things differently now in order to prevent these sorts of problems?
I think the first is to ensure that we plan and become effective on monitoring, because planning is quite important. For instance, you refer to this project of Beitbridge. It was not properly conceptualized, and it was not monitored properly during the implementation of such a project. And therefore, it is important that we plan accordingly. But also involvement of all stakeholders. It's important, because if you are constructing something that has to do with border management, all stakeholders must be involved. And those stakeholders include SABC, the Department of Defense, Home Affairs, which is the key department. So at that time, it's clear that there was no involvement of all of these departments. And we would want to ensure that our client department are involved in everything that we are doing.
And how is that particular project progressing, Minister? Because I would imagine you visited that border post. So for those of us who haven't been there, just give us a sense of what the picture is there. Is there a fence now? Is it what we are showing where we saw the last time the fence had been broken down? And as you say, this would be a project that would require all the relevant departments to work together, including the South African National Defence Force, you would imagine, because, if we're not going to patrol those borders properly, then again, why are we putting anything up that will be taken down?
Yes, the fence was erected, but it was of a poor standard. Didn't meet the standard that is expected, and it's broken. It's a very weak type of the fence, which is not adequate for that purpose. So it was a fence not fit for purpose. So we are going to ensure that we monitor the work going forward. But what we have done so far, we requested that the Department of Defense must lead us in the feasibility study on the kind of border fence that would be required, if any, because that is important. It is the Department of Defense that patrol all our borders, and therefore it is them who must say, we need fence here, and we'll be able to patrol in these other areas where there will be no fence. It is true that we can't fence all border lines, but where they are unable to patrol, we should be able to provide fencing equipment that is of a standard that they would require.
And Minister, they say good fences make good neighbors. And what we've seen in KwaZulu-Natal on that border post with Mozambique, we've seen tensions rising between the two communities on either side of the border. And precisely because of this sort of thing whereby things are being smuggled through. And I say things because there's a lot that's happening there. So I'm trying to encompass a lot of things by not being specific. And we've seen the community in Umhlabuyalingana, for example, becoming very agitated and in some instances threatening to take the law into their own hands to deal with that problem.
Yes, it has been quite a serious challenge in the northern KZN around Umhlabuyalingana. And we know that number of people have even lost their life because of criminals that steal cars from the South African side to Mozambique. But it is obvious that there is collaboration between elements in Mozambique and some in South Africa. The just barriers that are constructed, I think it's one initiative that could help us in addressing this problem of cars. But it cannot be a solution entirely. We need to ensure that whatever comes into the country is something that it's legal. Anything that comes in the country must be legal. Counterfeit goods and drugs and all of that could be smuggled easy if we don't work on proper border management system.
It is happening, Minister, and we see that, we've reported on it. So it's definitely something that's already happening. But, Minister, that's our time. Hopefully we'll have more time at a later stage to talk about other things as well in your portfolio. But thanks for your time this morning. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Sihle Zikalala speaking on the implementation of the National Infrastructure Plan.